Welcome back to another episode of Miss Bioscience. Last week, we reviewed what a common ancestor is, and we used that concept to debunk a commonly held misconception about human evolution. This week, I'm answering a question about evolution in action. Let's start with a great question from Madeline on last week's video. She asked, does evolution mean that species are always improving? But what does it mean for a species to always be improving? There's lots of different mechanisms that feed into evolution, so we could answer this question in a couple different ways, but I want to focus on the most well-known way, which is through natural selection. If I showed you this picture of two moths and asked you which one are birds more likely to eat, you'd instantly recognize that this white moth is going to be in big trouble. In natural selection, we would define improvement as fitness, and I'm not talking about fitness like we use in daily conversation. Fitness in an evolutionary sense is referring to your ability to pass your genes on. In other words, babies, offspring, mini-me's, etc. The more you pass on the genes, the more fit you are, and the more popular your traits become in the next generation. Logically, organisms that are better adapted to their environment will be more likely to pass on their genes, and those traits will become more popular. If these traits become popular enough and distinct enough, it could result in one species splitting into two species, but we'll talk about that later. So let's look at a classic example in a very fun species. Giraffes are instantly recognizable for their uniquely long necks. Why would this long neck be advantageous? How could it lead to increased fitness? The most common hypothesis for giraffe neck anatomy is that it helped them reach taller food sources that were more abundant. And if they can access higher foliage, they are competing with fewer animals like gazelles, zebras, etc., who eat similar food groups. This hypothesis is still on the table, but another explanation that has been brought forward is necks for sex, which to short-necked humans sounds hilarious. However, giraffes use their necks to compete for female attention in brutal face-offs. Males with longer necks tend to win, and this could be driving neck length to increase. The benefit of reaching higher food sources is just a bonus. Regardless of which hypothesis is more accurate, or if it is a combination of both, natural selection pushed giraffes to have longer necks because it improved their fitness. Giraffes with longer necks seem to be more successful, and so longer necks are reproducing more often. But how do giraffes feel lugging those necks around? I know my neck hurts just looking at them. Why would natural selection push them towards something that can be so painful? Because natural selection only cares about reproductive fitness. Are those necks adaptive enough to have babies? That's the end goal. Humans experience this on the daily, especially if you are over the age of 30. Human anatomy is such an amazing thing that has allowed us to adapt to a wide range of environments, some of which are super extreme. Humans have long life expectancy past what's considered a reproductive age. There's an interesting explanation for this that we will look into for a future episode. Unfortunately, it also means that all the back, hip, knee problems, which occur after reproductive age, will not experience natural selection. They don't impact our ability to reproduce, and thus will likely never improve, at least by natural selection. To review, we looked at the question, is evolution always causing things to improve? Sent in by Madeline. If we examine this question in terms of natural selection, then the answer is, it will look for traits that improve reproduction, but nothing more. There are other ways to answer this question because evolution is more than just natural selection, but that's for another time. I've linked my sources in the comments. Feel free to leave your feedback or questions in the comments as well. It might just end up the focus of a future episode.